Kalkadosh Boker Or Daf Yomi Masechet Shevuot Daf Kavdalad Amud Aleph 2481. We're just going to do a quick recap from 23b in order to get into the sugya. If you remember, we went and we asked that even if a person was going to be mefaresh, which means he comes and he explains, right? And he said exactly that he's going to be oser al atzmo something, he's going to prohibit upon himself something. We said, why should you be chayav? So, for example, let's say he says he's not going to eat nevela or shkatzim masim. So even in such a case, you would still say that it's not going to help. Why? He's mushba ve'omed b'Har Sinai. You remember he already was sworn during the time of Har Sinai that he's not allowed to eat, whether it's going to be nevelot, trefot, all those things. So we brought down two different answers. The answer of Rav Yochanan and the answer of the Shakish. The answer of Rav Yochanan was basically Rav and Shmuel and Rav Yochanan, that they said that it's always an isur kolel. You remember we explained the isur kolel means that you included something of heter, and the second that you included something of heter, so Mela, since it already prohibited on the heter because you're allowed to make a Shevuah on something of heter, so it was kolel the davar asur, and therefore you also have an extra Shevuah besides the one of Ma'amad Har Sinai. You also have an extra Shevuah, right, which is going to be also on the nevelot utrefot or shkatzim umasim, because migu that if it was chal on the heter, it's going to be chal also on the isur. So you have two different isurim. That was the answer of Rabbi Yochanan, isur kolel. Second answer was the answer of Rish Lakish. Rish Lakish came and he said that when are you going to tell me that there's going to be a Shevuah which is going to be chal on ma'achalot or surot? Either if it's going to be mefaresh, that you said a mefurash, and it's going to be chetzi shiur. Remember the mitzvah, the Torah, you're only going to be chayav on a kazait and more. Right? There's a concept of chetzi shiur, masum in the Torah or not, but what happens if I'm going to have half of a shiur, right? Is that Toraita, the Rabbanan, but for sure I cannot give you lashes, or I cannot obligate you a korban unless you eat a kazait. So when a person comes and eats a kazait of pig, they get lashes. If they did it purposely, if they did it accidentally, whatever, they're going to bring a korban. However, though, what happens if he ate only half of a kazait? I can't give him lashes, right? And I can't obligate him a korban. So he says, but if he was mefaresh and it was going to be chetzi shiur, and according to the Rabbanan, then he's going to be chayav, or bistam, right? That he just said that he's not going to eat it. And according to Rabbi Akiva, because Rabbi Akiva says, Adam oser atzmo becholshu, that a person could come and be oser on himself any amount whatsoever. So therefore, since he was nishba from the chetzi shiur, it's going to be chal, right? Even though he is going to be mushba ve'omed, because the mushba ve'omed was only from kazait and onwards. And here is he's oser atzmo bekolshu. So we finished off, right, the last shiur by saying, it's good according to Rabbi Yochanan that he didn't say like Rish Lakish, because he wanted to say that the Mishnah is according to everybody, whether according to Rabbanan, Chachamim, or according to Rabbi Akiva. But according to Rish Lakish, why doesn't he say like Chachamim? He should say like Rabbi Yochanan. So Elmaleh, he's going to tell you, when do we say Isur Kolel? Please. Sorry. Thank you. What does it mean? An isur which comes on its own. What does it mean it comes on its own? Which means that it's going to come without you doing anything. So, for example, it was before Yom Kippur, and now Kippur comes. So now you have an isur even without it. But if it's going to be a isur that you put yourself on it, we don't usually say isur kolel. Okay, until here, fine. So says the Gemara today, Bishlema leResh Lakish. It's good according to Resh Lakish, mishum hachi kapatar Rabbi Shimon. Because of that, he's going to argue on Rabbi Shimon, but he says it's going to be mushba ve'omed also on chetzi shiur, and it's not going to be chal. The Tanya was learned to the Braita. Rabbi Shimon says kol shehu lemakot. According to Shitat Rabbi Shimon, if you're going to eat one of the ma'achalot asurot v'mezid, you're going to be asur bechol shehu, even for lashes. So therefore, you would get lashes even on kol shehu. Velo amru kazait. Why did they say kazait? Only for korban. But according to Rabbi Yochanan, what's the reasoning then? Why does Rabbi Shimon say that you're going to be patur? Meaning, we said before we had a hanacha. The hanacha was that we thought an assumption that ki'ilu, anytime that the Torah mentioned isur of achila was a kazait, and therefore if it's not going to be a kazait, you're patur mi lashes and patur mi korban. Now Rabbi Shimon told you no. Really, bemet, you're always chayav lashes. Yeah, you always get makot. Afilu bechol shu. Yeah, afilu kol shu. Yeah, you get lashes. Yeah, even if it's going to be less than a kazait. But you're going to get lashes. But he says, so then why do you need a kazait then? Kazait is only for korban. That's what it is. Only for a korban. So he says, Mideu ta'amala mishum isur kolel. He says, 1 second, I thought that you told me that the reason why Tanakama says you're going to be chayav is because the Shevuah is going to be kolel dvarim mutarim with dvarim asurim. So because of that, it's going to be chalal dvarim mutar, right? And therefore it's going to be chalal dvarim asur also. So if so, what's the reasoning why Rabbi Shimon argues? So he says, Rabbi Shimon l'tameh delet le'isur kolel. Rabbi Shimon doesn't hold of an isur kolel. Meaning, according to the Shakish, there's an isur kolel. Right? What does that mean? When you're kolel mashu sheleteri misur, it's chalal shtehem. But only if it's davar ba me'elav. Hadavar ba mimila. Not that you put it upon yourself. That is shitat Resh Lakish. According to the shitat Rabbi Shimon, he doesn't hold of it at all. Right? He says the Tanya is learned to the Braita. Rabbi Shimon says, Ha'ochel nevelot b'yom kippurim patur. If you come and you ate b'shogeg, right, a nevela on Kippur, you don't have to bring a chatat on the avirat Yom Kippurim, because even though, yes, on Kippur, yes, because even though the isur of Yom Kippurim is going to be kolel, also the shchutot, bechol zot, it's not chal on nevela. Meaning, the isur of not eating on Kippur is kosher food. Why is it not also on non-kosher food? Because even without Kippur, you're not allowed to eat non-kosher food. Meaning the Yisur of Kippur was telling you you're not allowed to eat. Eat what? Non-kosher? You were never allowed to eat non-kosher. Meaning forget about Kippur. Right? Today's Sunday, Monday, Tuesday. You're not allowed to eat non-kosher. So if on Sunday, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, you're not allowed to eat non-kosher, the fact that Kippur comes and prohibits you not to eat, it wasn't to prohibit you to eat non-kosher. Because that anyway you were not allowed to eat. So if it wasn't coming to teach you, you're not allowed to eat kosher food. So because of that, says Rabbi Shimon, I don't hold of Isur Kolel, because if you're going to tell me Isur Kolel, this is the best example of Isur Kolel. Isur which is coming on its own. Something that comes on its own, which is talking about Kippur, right? That all of a sudden now you're going to be Asur, and Kippur includes Heter. So migu that it's going to be included in Heter, it's going to be included in Devara Isur. But if you hold that there's no Isur Kolel, which means I do not include the Heter to include the Isur, so therefore it's not going to be Chal. So therefore that's exactly what happened. It's not going to be Chal. Okay? Bishlema lereshakish. I understand according to the Shakish, mishkachat la belav vehen. I understand that you can find it whether it's going to be in a lav and a hen. But according to Rabbi Yochanan, bishma lav mishkachala, I could find it by a negative commandment. Meaning by the Shakish, you could find it whether it's going to be that I'm not going to eat or I'm going to eat. Because again, it's always going to be that you're going to be mushva ve'omen ba'asinai, but it's going to be on a shiur shalem. Now he says even if it's going to be chatzi shiur, it's going to be fine. But according to Rabbi Yochanan, I understand that you could find it to do with a lav, right? Elahen, right? But how do you find it by the hen? How are you going to be mitchayev Shevuah to eat ma'achalot asurot? Because even if it's going to be kolel dvarim mutarim, it's not going to be chal on the isurim, right? Not to eat it. So it's not going to be mevatel something that Shevuah to do with Har Sinai. So he says, Ela like Rava. The Rava says, Shevuah shelo achal v'achal afar patur. You remember that according to Shitat Rava, what happens if a person comes and he says a Shevuah that he's not going to eat, and then he ate something which is not raui lachila? He ate afar, so he's going to be patur. You remember we said, right? It's lav davka patur. It's lav davka afar. It's anything which is lav barachila. The reason why is because it's not normal to eat such things. So therefore, when he made a Shevuah that he's not going to eat, obviously he meant things which are normal to eat. Rav Mari says, we also learned it in Mishnah. We also learned it. A person comes and he prohibits his wife to benefit from him like a korban. Right? If he ate today. And he did eat. But what did he eat? He ate so all of a sudden his wife is not allowed to benefit from him. So imagine the guy comes and he makes a swear. His wife is not allowed to eat from him. The wife is not allowed to benefit from him like a korban. That's a kunam. Remember, kunam is always, you make it like a korban. So his wife is not allowed to benefit if he's going to eat. If he's going to eat today. So what happens? All of a sudden he does eat. But what does he eat? He eats nevelot utrefot ushkatzim ulmasim. So now technically he ate isur. He didn't eat heter. But the fact that he ate, she's not allowed to benefit from him like a korban. Because at the end of the day, he still ate. So says the Gemara, Hachi Ashta, can you compare both cases? Hatam over there, right? He says, given the Meikara Achal, Vehadal Ishtabala. Since at the beginning, when he ate the Machalot Surot, and then he made the Neder. Meaning, what was the case? The case was he ate. And all of a sudden, after eating, he comes and he says, Kunami shti nenetli, right? Im achalti hayom. Kodem kol hu achal. After the achila, he made the vow. After the achila, he made the vow. So in such a case, says the Gemara on Kafdala Damubet, Chashuve achsheve. What does that mean, Chashuve achsheve? Right? He was machshiv before the neder, the machalot asurot. And therefore, the fact that he was machshiv it because he ate it. Meaning, it wasn't that stam, he made the neder, and then he ate the nevelot utufot. He first ate. So now that he ate it, he showed it something chashuv. He's showing this is what he wants. This is what he's eating. So therefore, and then afterwards he comes and he makes an neder. So therefore, it's not the same thing. Elahacha, but over here though, who told you that it's important? A guy comes and he makes a vow, and only afterwards he comes and he's starting to eat things, right, which are not part of the vow. Whoever told you that it's going to be chashuv? So because of that, you can compare both cases. Okay, fine. Says the Gemara, Amar Rava. Rava comes and he says, "My tama deman deitle isur kolel." What's the reason why you hold the concept of isur kolel? Needed to have a isur mosif. It's the exact same thing like an isur mosif. That means since you have the isur sheni is going to be chal al chavetz sheni, so therefore it's going to be chal also on the rishon as well. Okay, so he comes and he says, "Uman de patar de letle ki amar isur mosif bechad chaticha." When do you say it? On one chaticha, b'shtei chatichot, but on two different chatichot. Lo amrina, we do not say isur mosif, which means this yesod that I brought you down about isur kolel also applies by isur mosif. Isur mosif means it adds something else to the dimension, meaning it's adding an extra isur. So therefore, he comes and he says, right? He comes and he says, I don't know if we're going to get into it. I'm just trying to see here. Yeah, it's okay. He does bring it down in the footnote. In the footnote, he brings down that, for example, what happens if a person comes and he does an isur that he's not going to eat, right? For example, he comes and he says that he's not going to eat stam. Yeah, he's not going to eat. And then afterwards, he comes and he says, I'm not going to eat tenim va'anavim. Detail. Right? He gives you the detail. So when he came and he swore the second time around, he was already chayav on the first one. Meaning, if you said I'm not going to eat, so obviously tenim and anavim, right, figs are included. So there was nothing which was mosif onto it, right? But for example, if you come and you added on to it afterwards, so therefore that's going to be an isur mosif. Yeah, you could have shtiya, you could have something else of achila that you added to it. So therefore it's going to be, right, something extra. Ve'amar Rava. So Rava comes and he says, Lemandi le isur kolel. According to the mandamar that says isur kolel, amar shivua shelo ochal tenim. Right? Imagine a person comes and he makes a shivua, he's not going to eat figs. And then he says he's not going to eat figs and grapes. Migu dechayla navim. So this is a isur mosif, right? Or isur kolel. It's the same concept. So he says migu that it's going to be chal on the anavim. It's also going to be chal on the tenim. So it comes out that now that it's going to be chal, now he's going to like two avirot now on the tenim, right? Two shevuot on the tenim. At the beginning, he said he's not going to eat tenim. Afterwards, he comes and he makes another vow. He's not going to eat tenim and anavim. The fact that it's also going to be chal on the anavim, because now he added on. So the fact that he also added on the anavim, now he's got a second shivua on the tenim. Sorry. Okay. Exactly. But not because you repeated the tenim, but because you added on with the anavim. Meaning, if you just said again, Shevuah that he's not going to eat tenim, and then after 10 minutes again he says Shevuah she's not going to eat tenim, and Shevuah chalal Shevuah, then isur chalal isur. It doesn't count. The fact that the second time around you added, you said again tenim, but with anavim. So migu that it's going to be chal on the anavim, it's going to be chal also on the tenim. So on tenim you're chayav two Shevuot, and if you ate on anavim, you're going to be chayav one. One more time. You mean a Shevuah, I'm not going to eat. If you ate both, 2 and 1. 2 for the Tenim and 1 for the Anavim. Yeah, 100%. זה כבר שאלה אחרת, זו שאלה מאוד טובה. Says the Gemara, Pshita, obviously. So he says, no, I would have thought to say, Isura ba me'elav amninan, Isura ba me'atzmo lo amninan. Kamashma, the chidush is that we don't say like Resh Lakish, which means that I would have thought to say that maybe it's only going to be an Isura ba me'elav. And here, this was not an Isura ba me'elav. Here, you added the Isur, right? Because you were the one that had to add this Isur. So therefore, that's the chidush. So we don't go like Resh Lakish, so we're going basically like a Isur kolel, that even though you brought it upon yourself. Mativ Rava bered Rava. So ask Rava, the son of Rava, Yesh ochel achila achat v'chayav alea arba chataot v'asham echad. Do you know a person could eat one achila, one kazait, and he's going to be chayav 4 korbanot chatat and 1 korban asham. Ve'elu en hasori v'asiporen. No, he says ve'elu en. Says tameh shachal chelev vehu notar mina mukdashin biyom akipurim.
Yom Kippur.
One second. Chelev. No, why nevela? What is nevela?
Yom Kippur. And his tamen. 3. Achila Yom Kippur. No, Achila.
Right? First of all, he's tameh. Go in order. He's tameh. No, but he's tameh is nothing. But he's tameh. So when he's tameh and he's eating the kodesh, which is going to be later on, right? That's what he says. The tameh which is eating the kodesh. Right? It's not Acharon. Acharon is Kippur. 1 second. But the Acharon is Kippur. 1 second. I'm just going in order so you understand what you're doing. Right? One more time. Right? Tameh, that you're eating mina mekudashim. So that's going to be number 1. You're eating chelev. Now, chelev has nothing to do with tameh. Any person that eats chelev is going to be automatically isur. Number 3, notar. No, again, I told you, go in order. Go take word for word. Notar. Right? 1 second. No, 1 minute. Notar is leftovers. Leftovers of the korban, meaning that you have to eat the korban at a certain time, right? And you didn't, right? Leftovers are you're not allowed to tiru mimenu al boker. Va'notar mimenu al boker ba'esh tisrofu, right? And the last one is going to be Yom Kippur. Now he comes and he says like this: you had here 4 lavim, right? Which is chayav karet, okay? Which is basically chelev, right? Notar. Yeah, Kippur and Kodshim when you're tameh. That's 4 chataot. Right? 1 second. Now, you also did a 5th one, which is me'ilah. Me'ilah, right, is a korban asham. I mentioned 4. No, for sure not. Me'ilah? Me'ilah is only if you benefit from Kodshim, right? Benefiting from Kodshim. But that's an asham. So one more time, for benefiting from kodshim, you're chayav an asham, and the other 4 avirot, they're 4 chataot: chelev, notar, kodesh. You ate, right? That you were tameh, that you ate kodesh, and kippur. So on those 4, right, you chatat, and you benefited milah from kodshim and asham. So 4 avirot, 4 karets, 4 chataot, okay, and 1 asham. 1 guilt offering because you had Mila. Which one? I'm not understanding. That's when you bring the Asham. You bring this Asham because of Mila. Mila bishgaga. No. This b'derech kal gam ken Asham is for kavanah. But here, the fact that you benefited from kochi mal Mila, automatically you bring an Asham. Right? Rabbi Meir Omer. Rabbi Meir, it is automatic. Once he eats the mukdashit. Rabbi Meir Omer. Rabbi Meir comes and he says, Afi ma'ita Shabbat ve'otzio befiv. What happens if it's Shabbat and he took it out in his mouth while he's eating? So then he's also going to be chayav an extra one because he was mechalel Shabbat. Amru lo eno min Hashem. You remember we saw this many times. We see this throughout all of Shas. Yeah? So what does that mean? It's not the same name. Meaning it's not the same category. Meaning, right, which means that if you pay attention, right, what happens is that here we're talking about that you did an achila. Every single one of these was an isur in the achila, in the eating. When you come and you put the food in your mouth and then you're going outside in the Reshut Rabim, that's called hotza'ah. It's not because of the achila. It's not, you're right. You're doing, it's another category. So it's eno min Hashem. It's not the same thing. Here, each one of these 5 had to do with the eating. Azachalta ota. right? Here, though, you just took the hotza'ah. Hotza'ah is nothing to do with achila. If you would have taken a pen outside, right? That's also a sur hotza'ah. It's not kashur to the achila of that everything that you're doing. Yes, that's why they said that they argued on Rabbi Mean. Now says the Gemara, V'im ita. Now if you're going to tell me now that there's going to be an isur kolel, mashkach ala chamesh. I do have chamesh. Kegon she'amar shevua shelo ochal tmarim bechelef. Imagine a person comes and he makes a shevua that he's not going to eat tmarim in chelef. So migu dechayil al tmarim is going to be chal al chelef. So now you do have an extra one. Now I just found you another one. That means even according, meaning without Shabbat. Rabbi Meir says, remember, one more time, I'm coming and I'm trying to give you like a trick question. And I'm going to say, listen, tell me, when can it be that you're going to eat one kezait and you have 5 korbanot? Right? You say, wow, that's incredible. So you have to start thinking. You ate on Kippur, so that's 1 korban. You ate a chelev, right? Or something which is prohibited. It has to be achila. And then it has to be that it's also been megutashin and notar. You start thinking. So you come and you start bringing counts. So now Rabbi Meir says, I've got another one. Hotza'an Shabbat. They come and say, hey, mapiton, that's not achila. Says the Gemara, once if you hold of Isur Kolel, I have an Isur of achila. Tmarim and chelef. Migu that it's halal tmarim, it's also halal al-chelef. So when this guy came and he ate the chelef, he was also over on the Shevuah. And that's right, because again, at the end of the day, it was chal because of the tmanim. So he has an extra avera that he's chal al Shevuah, and everything has to do with achila. So if you do have an extra one, בגלל הוא עובר על השבוע גם כן. עוד פעם, עכשיו זה יהיה 6. זה 5 חטאות, והשם. Right? No. Shabbat, we got rid of Shabbat. We got rid of Shabbat. That you're adding on an isur of Shevuah. That you're being over in Shevuah. And it's to do with achila. Yeah? Everyone understood the thing. Isur kolel. Isur kolel. So answers the Gemara. Kiktani isur haba me'elav. Isur haba me'atzmo lo ktani. We were only going like the shita that it has to be isur which comes on its own. That's why we brought down Kippur. Not exactly like Resh Lakish. And not that isur that you brought upon yourself. So for when we came and we told you that you're going to be chayav 4 chataot and 1 hasham, and we did it was only because we were going in this shita that you cannot just add on another one to yourself. It has to be something that comes on its own. So says the Gemara, fine. But what about Ekdesh? Right? Ekdesh is that somebody came and he consecrated it. It was mukdashin. He was makdish at zeh. Right? We just spoke about it in this week's parasha. Right? Vima makdish, everything, the end of parasha bechukutai. Yeah? So he's a person comes and he's makdish. So he says, so that he himself answers the Gemara. We're talking about a bechor. A bechor, kedushato merechem. You didn't have to be makdish oto. It was automatically kadosh, meaning the animal that you ate from was a korban bechor. It wasn't a korban that you sanctified it, because if you sanctified it, so then be'emet it's not a ba me'elav. It didn't come me'elav. You did it yourself. So it's no, it's a bechor. A bechor, the kedusha came me'elav, right? Yeah, doctor, you with me? Yeah. It's mathematics, but it's also there, right? Yeah, Yon, taiti. Yeah. One more time. We came and we brought down one case. A person comes and he eats, right? And he ate one kazait. And I just tell him, you were just over 5 averot. Now again, it wasn't even an ant. Because if you ate an ant, you're also over on chamesh asurim, right? And you get 5 lashes and everything, right? But it wasn't an ant. You're eating 1 kazait. Because an ant is even less than a kazait. An ant, you eat a birya, and that's it, right? That's why, right? I remember that the COR, they wanted once to come and they wanted to teach. The COR is a kosher agency in Toronto, right? It's like OU. So basically what happened was that they went and they wanted to teach the Balebatim, right? That they weren't allowed to serve certain types of foods because it was infested of bugs. So it was of broccoli. And I remember my uncle had a store, right? A Chinese restaurant. Now one of the main dishes is the broccoli with meat. Yeah, that's one of a few dishes, right? So therefore, brief and broccoli. So what happens is that, imagine he's got an all-you-can-eat Chinese restaurant called King Solomon's Table, right? And what happens is that all of a sudden, you can't serve your main dishes. It's problematic. So he came and he said like this. So what happened is that they went, and how do they sell it to a balabait? You come and you tell a balabait, there's bugs, there's this. You know how balabatim are. The rabbis, you guys are, fanatics and this, parasites, and you know how they talk. So he went and they showed the videos with the bugs. And then they went and they told them one line. And that one line penetrated, right? More than anything else. They went and they said, it's better to eat pig than to eat a bug. Now, for us, we know that chamon, right? Pig, right? Chazir is like, what? A person will yarei val yavor. What? Pig? I would never eat that in my life. He says you can eat 5 pigs 5 times. And that's the same thing as eating 1 bug. But the 5 averot as 1 bug, 1 ant, 1 little tiny fly. 1, that's it. Okay, Mitzian. So therefore, and they eat salads. Exactly. They eat salads. And they say, I'm eating kosher. Why? It's only a salad. It's even worse, right? It's even worse because they don't care about it. And then there's a bug. There's 1 bug. So all of a sudden, right? Now again, they bought it. Why did they buy it? Because then they come and they say, you know what? Wow, you're telling me that a bug is 5 times worse than a pig? It changes their ashkafa. Why? Because then they come and say, you know what? Okay, fine. Now I start understanding. So now I'm going to start, right, paying attention, right? Remember that the people that they give it, right? Yeah. So therefore, what happens is, right? So what happens is, yeah. So he comes and he says, right? That's why it's very, very important for us just to understand the gravity of the sin. Because if you don't show them the gravity of the sin, they're going to come and say, what's the big deal? What? So we learned it in Masechet Makot. Check the 3rd perek of Masechet Makot. We learned it over there about the 5 avirot, about every single time that it's written that you're not allowed to eat al kol hasheretz hashoretz al aretz and all those things. So each one in which was included the ants, right? Ants or any creepy crawlers or any bugs. So any types of bugs is going to be, what did you say? If you want, you can answer. Kikatani, what are we talking about? Midi dilet le she'ela. Something that is going to be an isur kavua that you cannot even ask to take away the isur. Shivua dit le she'ela loktani. But if it's going to be that you could go to the chacham and to be oker legamre, we're not talking about that. So here, right, we're talking about that he went to a chacham or a betin, and therefore they could be matid, right? This shivua. So says the Gemara, hare ekdesh. He says, what about ekdesh? At the end of the day, Ekdesh, you could also ask to get rid of the Ekdesh to make it into thing. So says the Gemara, we said we're not talking about the Yom Makdish, we're talking about Bechor, right? And therefore, by a Bechor, you cannot get rid of it through a Shelat Chacham. Meaning, when you come and you have a Bechor that's born, you cannot go to the Chacham and take it out, right? Because it's not like Ekdesh or something that you could take it out, right? The second it's born, Kedusha, it's Peterechem. If you want, you can answer another answer. Ki katani korban kavua. Only talking about a korban kavua. Korban olev yoreh lo ktani. We were talking about all these things that a person sinned, whether he's an ani or a sheed, he has to bring a korban kavua. Things which are going to be korban olev yoreh, we're not talking about. Remember, all the 4 chataot that we spoke about was the regular korban hatat, right? Or korban hatat kavua. The one of the shivua is a korban olev yored. It's not the same korban hatat. It's also a chatat, but it's not a chatat kivua. If you take a lot of the machzorim, some of them actually have it in Kippur. Al chet shanachu chayvim alehem chatat kivua or chatat olev yored, meaning that you're talking about the korban olev yored, right? Fine. So now he comes and he says, right? Hare tameh shachal et kodesh korban. So 1 second, if somebody's tameh and he ate the kodesh, that's also olev yored. So answers the Gemara, benasi. We're talking about the Nasi and Rabbi Eliezer. It's Rabbi Eliezer that he says Nasi mevi seir. He's going to bring a he-goat, right, which is a chatat kivua also, meaning we're not talking about a regular person. Ravashi says, Kiktani, when are we talking about? Midid dechayle kiseir, something, sorry, kishiur. It's like a shiur. What does that mean? Shevuot dechayle pachom shiur lokutani. We're only talking about something which is going to be on a shiur, not if it's going to be less than a shiur. So here, if it's going to be on a shevuot that's going to be even less than a shiur, we're not talking about that. Ask the Gemara Hekdesh. So he says, yeah, but 1 second. You still need a Shaveh Pruta. Meaning, when you're going to be chayav, when you benefit from kochim, it has to be minimum of a Shaveh Pruta. If you benefited less than a Shaveh Pruta, you're not going to be chayav. A 5th answer of Ravashi, right? Avidi Amar, Rabbi Zera, in the name of Rabbi Zera. Kiketani, what are we talking about? Zedono karet, zedono lav loktani. What are we talking about? We're talking about only when there's karet, a shivua. If you're over on a shivua, is there karet? No. We were speaking about in the case that the 4 different avirot, that you were tameh, that you ate kodesh or notar, those are all karet. Each one of those things is karet. Shevuah is not karet. So that's why we didn't talk about Shevuah. So I asked the Gemara Asham. He says, 1 second, Asham ilot. It's a negative commandment. It's not karet. Meaning if you benefit from kodshim, you don't get karet. You just get it. It's a negative commandment. You have to bring on Asham ilot. So answers the Gemara, right? Kafei Amud Aleph. Bechatat kamnina. We're talking about a chatat, not the asham. Remember, there was 4 chataot and 1 asham. So we're only talking about the chataot, right? Not the asham. Ravina, a 6th answer. Ravina comes and he answers. Ki katani, when do we learn the 4 chataot and everything? Midi dechayla, midi devar achilahu. Only something which is to do with achila. Shevuah dechayla, midi labar achila. Shevuah is chal on everything. Meaning, notar is only to do with eating. Yom Kippur was to do with eating, right? Even though we're going to speak about it now. Right, so all these things that we're talking about, notar, right, kodesh that you ate, the mukdashin, chelev, is kulam achila. Shevuah, I can make a shevuah that I'm not going to sit down on the chair. Has nothing to do with achila. The shevuah that you made was on achila, but shevuah is chal on everything. It's something general. It's generic. It's not just on achila. So says the Gemara, everything which is not bar achila lo katani. So he says, right, vare hekdesh. Says Hekdesh. Hekdesh is going to be chal also on etzim vavanim. So he says, something that has mamashut. Shevuah is chal on everything, even something which does not have mamashut. Kegon, for example, I'm going to sleep or I'm not going to sleep. So Shevuah is going to be chal on that. So therefore, he wanted to push. You're right. He could have also asked on Kippur. That's why I told you immediately. Was Kippur is not only on Echila, Kippur is on everything. But again, he chose Hekdesh, which was before Kippur, and right away he disproved it. And therefore, he just said that it's going to be Shevuah, that he's going to sleep or not going to